Welcome to our online resources for student teachers in the further and continuing education sector. These short films are designed to stimulate discussion and reflection about teaching methods in this sector. In each, we present a number of different scenarios showing different approaches to teaching. These are drawing attention to fairly common problems arising from the pedagogical methods shown. After each film, there will be some questions and thoughts to help generate discussion. The material and the scenarios in each film are entirely fictional, and the actors are all drawn from Kildare Youth Theatre.
Miss?
Yes, Rachel.
You know the way last week we were talking about the man with the ducks?
What was that? Oh, Bowlby's theory of attachment, Rachel.
Yeah, well, I watched a video on YouTube the other day and it was like the same thing but with cats.
Oh, Sean, where are the rest of them?
They're all having fags.
Will you go out and get them, Sean? We're here 5 minutes. Quickly now,
on
Sean.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Oh no, because I was doing my coursework and then I seen it and I was like, yes, because like you can actually
You just understand it so much
yeah,
more.
if you have an example in front of you, like it's so much easier when you're studying.
Yeah.
I was so glad to see that. Like
No,
it's
it's
so
so
much better.
Sorry I'm late, miss. Sorry, child was sick. I was up at like 6 a.m. I'm not.
Is she okay?
It's just a little bug going around. I think it's like some sort of 24-hour
my
thing.
woman has it as well.
Feck off.
Yeah, she
Should I
does.
give her some Calpol or something?
I wouldn't trust Calpol. I want to naturalise it.
True, yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm like, hey, is
Okay, come on, lads, quickly now. Quickly now, guys. Sit down.
We're in this. What's the crack, miss? How are you?
Okay, right, settle down now. Oh, actually, hold on, I want to give you out your folders. Quickly now. I've had a look at the folders. Some of them are okay. Some of them need a bit of work. Alex, yours has a lot of blanks in it. But I'll help you, Alec. I just need to get...
Miss, is this not good, no?
You'll get some, yours is fine. You just might need a little bit of help there at the end. So if you come to me at the end of the class, Graham, you come up to me at the end of the class. There are 1 or 2 things that I need. Has everybody got their folders there now? Yeah, sorry, there you go. That's yours. Yeah.
I didn't get mine.
Sorry, there you go.
Mine.
Okay, right. Now today we're going to look at child development, guys, and we're looking at a theorist called Piaget.
Where's he from?
He's, do you know, I'm not sure. I think he might be French.
Miss, how do you spell that?
Piaget. It's actually the wrong thing. P-I-A-G-E-T, Rachel. P-I-A-G-E-T. Okay, G-E-T. Graham, can you sit down?
Miss, have you got a pen? Sorry.
Oh, for God. You'd have to bring pens, guys, to the class. It's very disrupting. Bring a pen to next class, will you please? Okay. Right. Now, okay, this is Piaget. His first stage of child development was called sociomotor.
That has to do with cars and movement.
So, Ali, look, settle down. Lads, open up your folders, settle down. Now, section 5 there, all child development. Open that up. Alec, you read the first part of that for me now, please.
Miss, I'm not reading that.
Yeah, read it out, Alec, please, quickly.
No, I'm not reading it.
Alec, read it for the class. It's beneficial for all of us
If
if
it's
you read it.
benefit for the class, get someone else to do it. I'm not reading it.
Well, if you're not going to read, Alec, out.
Grand.
Well, sure, that's grand, miss, isn't it? We all know you're all very understanding of other people's disabilities, aren't you?
What does he mean?
Can't read, miss.
Well, nobody told me that. I should have been told that.
Yeah, miss. I'm throwing papers. Like,
Yeah,
what's
it's
disrespect? Like,
Right, okay, we'll move on. We'll move on to the next stage. We're going to look at the pre-operational stage of
Miss,
development.
that sounds like they're going in for surgery.
No, it's not. It's the second stage of child development, and it's all about language, really, and how children learn language. And really, they learn from their primary carer, their main carer in their life. Who might that be?
Mother.
The mother.
Good, Rachel. And what they do is, normally what the mother does is she uses this little language system called Motherese. Are you listening, lads? And what you do is you talk like, you know the baby talk we do to children? You know now, Sarah, because you have a little baby and you're Rachel. You know when you're talking and you're saying, hello, there is a lovely girl, you know, and day-days and bye-bye. That's Motherese. You're in a really high-pitched little voice. So maybe you might do a little role play here. You be the mother, Lauren, and you be the baby, okay? So you're going to say to Sarah, like, you know, oh, little bye-bye, who's a lovely little girl? Yeah. And you watch it now, lads. So that's what you're going to do. So this is what you do. This is how you do it. You say, oh, look at you, Sarah. You're a lovely little girl. Who's a lovely little girl? And let's go for a bye-bye. That type of thing. Okay, so I want you to do that.
You wouldn't really use that type of language with a 7-year-old, though.
You're absolutely right, because as they develop, the language develops, okay? So the need for that kind of language is less. And you know, by the time they've actually 3,000 words in the vocabulary. Yeah, very, very good. So now, just leave that page on your folder, Robert, and we're going to move on now to concrete operational. Actually, before we move on to that, guys, just open the folders there, okay? And you'll see I put in a PowerPoint presentation for you. I've done all the work. I've marked all the stages. And what I'm just going to read it out for you, all about the different stages. Now there's a thing called animism there. Can you see that? And this is the belief that inanimate objects, such as toys and teddy bears, etc., have human feelings and intentions. By animism, Piaget, 1921, meant, and actually that's very important, keep a note of the date because you'll get an extra mark in your exam for writing down dates, okay? He meant that for the pre-operational child, the world of nature is alive, conscious and has a purpose. Piaget has identified 4 stages of animism, okay? And then another very important thing I want you to look at there is symbolic representation. Okay, you need to learn that off for the exam. And this is the ability to make one thing, a word or an object, stand for something other than itself. And language is perhaps the most obvious form of symbolism that young children display. However, Piaget, 1951, again another date, keep an eye on that, argues that language does not facilitate cognitive development, but merely reflects what the child already knows and contributes little to new knowledge. He believed cognitive development promotes language development, not vice versa. And then the pretend play or the symbolic play, that would be something else that you'd need to know for the exam. That's toddlers often pretend to be people they are not, like superheroes or policemen, and they may play these roles with props that symbolise real life objects. Like children may also invent an imaginary playmate. In symbolic play, young children advance upon their cognitive
In the previous film, which we've just seen, Motherese, we have a situation where we wanted to explore a number of scenarios involving teachers in typical situations in further and continuing education. One of them is where we have a teacher who is attending to the needs of absolutely every student that says something. She's pulled from one student to another and doesn't really get a chance to focus on what she wants to do herself. Secondly, she's overdoing things for students out of a sense of care. In all of these films, the teachers are caring and kind, and they're trying to do their best for their students. Her overdoing material and overdoing exercises, even to the point of printing off stuff and leaving it in their folders, is not a symptom necessarily of her being a bad teacher. It's a symptom of her caring too much for the students and mothering them herself. We also wanted to look at the situation where a teacher moves too rapidly from practical discussion-based relevant activity, the discussion about the children, into conceptual ideas, which alienates the class quite soundly. And by the end of the 5 minutes or so, the class are no longer interested and they're completely disengaged, because she has moved from practice to conception and from easy to understand ideas to conceptual abstract ones too quickly. So in this particular film, we were looking through it at a number of ideas. In the beginning, in 243, the teacher attempts to force the boys to engage and to become part of the class, although her natural sympathies lie with the girls, and that's where she positions herself quite often. So positioning in a classroom is very important. At around 243, her frustration with the boys reaches its peak, and she asks one of them, Alec, to read a passage from the book in the hope that this will engage all of them. Of course he doesn't, he refuses, he's not able to read, and she doesn't realise this. But what's interesting is after she asks him to leave, and he does so, and another student leaves, his ally, she's quite upset, and it's quite a difficult situation for a student teacher. What she does though is to turn to her allies, the girls in the class, and puts her position quite emotionally and quite forcefully, draws allies, if you like, recruits people onto her side. I should have been told that, etc. And they all agree with her. By now the boys in the class have been effectively colonised into silence, and she doesn't even hear that they are answering questions. For example, one of them identifies the correct answer, mother. She doesn't hear this and thinks it comes from the girls and compliments them. We wanted to look around about 412 at her attempt to do something creative such as a role play. She, however, gets carried away with doing the work for the young people and effectively does the role play for the two young women herself by saying things like, "This is how you do it," and proceeds to go ahead and do it. She's distracted from continuing that activity by a question from a student and moves straight on to another. So in this class, the situation is out of control for her. The class is not out of control, but her thinking and her methods are out of control. She's jumping from one person to another, and she's abandoning tasks and exercises and moving on to other ones, even though she hasn't completed ones before that.